Yahoo News reports a poll shows that half of Americans now predict U.S. may cease to be a democracy someday. 55% of Democrats, 53% of Republicans believe it is likely that America will cease to be a democracy in the future. A stunning expression of bipartisan despair about the direction of the country. Half of all Americans express the same sentiment when independents and those who do not declare any political affiliation are factored in, at 49%. At the same time, however, a large number of Americans seem indifferent to the high-profile hearings by the House committee investigating the January 6, 2021 attack on the Capitol. Oh, imagine that. In fact, the new survey of 1,541 adults found that fewer than 1 in 4, 24%, say they watched last Thursday's initial primetime broadcast. Only slightly more, 27%, say they caught the news coverage later. Nearly half, 49%, say they did not follow the hearings at all. Why would they listen to these people who are neocon warmongers, lecture them about how important it is to respect the democratic will of the people? They don't respect anybody's will of the people around the world whenever it's convenient for their cartel friends. People know viscerally in their bones that these people are not credible. Meanwhile, Gallup, another poll, says record high 50% of Americans rate U.S. moral values as poor. 78% think moral values in the U.S. are getting worse. Consideration of others cited as top problem with state of moral values. Well, we have to have moral principles guiding what we do. It's not a moral value to print money out of thin air and rob people's purchasing power through inflation. That's what the Fed's done, whichever party you've had in there. It's not a moral value to go around the world as a crooked cop, looking away as some countries do dictatorial, wicked stuff, turning the other way for that, and then selectively going after others who do dictatorial stuff and meddling in their affairs and propping up another dictatorial replacement for the first authoritarian person that our foreign policy establishment had to oust. That's not a moral value. Spying on your own citizens who've done nothing wrong, that's not a moral value. Cheapening human life to the point where people are actually debating being able to have the right to abort babies after they're born, that's not a moral value. Dragging 6-month-old kids and 3-year-olds to drag queen bars where there's all kinds of gratuitous sexual stuff on display for children who do not have the ability to say no and get away from that stuff and have their innocence protected so they can just have a childhood without adult sexual issues on display. That's not a moral value. Locking people up for nonviolent crimes, throwing away the key for letting them sit there for decades and decades while people who do actual violent crimes get off scot-free, that's not a moral value. Lying to people that a product that doesn't work as marketed is enforced and should be taken for kids who are even toddlers and babies, that's not a moral value. Telling people that inflation is not a result of our own mismanagement of printing money out of thin air, but rather somebody else somewhere over around the world's problem that they created, that's not a moral value, that's a lie. Blaming people who vote differently from you for a school shooting from a maniac, that's not a moral value, it's a lie. Right? Bailing out giant corporations, subsidizing toxic seed oil sludge foods that harm people, that's not moral and that's not valuable. So yeah, we have lost our way. But if you notice the pattern, that all of it comes around worshiping the state, relying on the state in its bureaucracies and its crony friends to run our lives. all those problems come back to us believing that politics is the solution for our lives. Every one of those moral value deficits that I just outlined all connect back to the belief that might makes right, the belief that it's okay for people to lord over others. Jesus said, do not lord over others as the Gentiles do. And what are we doing? Lording over others. So all we do is beg for different ways of having people lord over us. Why do you want that? In the Old Testament, God told the people of Israel, don't have a king. It'll ruin your life. It'll take 10% of what you got. They take a lot more than that now, don't they? But oh boy, let's just keep doubling down on that model and see where it takes us. It won't take us anywhere good. Let's choose love. Let's choose nonviolence. Let's choose peace. Let's choose our own home and our own community here in Tampa Bay, wherever you live.